In a special CBS News broadcast, Walter Cronkite stepped beyond his role as a reporter.
To say that we are mired in stalemate seems the only realistic, if unsatisfactory, conclusion. But it is increasingly clear to this reporter that the only rational way out then will be to negotiate, not as victors, but as an honorable people who lived up to their pledge to defend democracy and did the best they could. This is Walter Cronkite. Good night.
Hearing this, President Johnson replied, "If I've lost Cronkite, then it's over. I've lost the country." And he had. Public opinion following the Tet Offensive reflected disillusionment. The president had brazenly escalated the war and failed to win it. Even within his inner circle, minds had changed. Defense Secretary Robert McNamara resigned and was replaced by Clark Clifford, who would argue for an American withdrawal. The president lamented, "Everybody is recommending surrender." But in the end, it was Johnson himself who surrendered.
I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
Lyndon Johnson's abdication had a note of finality, but the president presided over the remaining months of 1968, some of the most tumultuous weeks in the nation's history.
That we as a people will get to the promised land.
In April, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was cut down by an assassin in Memphis. Violence erupted on the streets of America's inner cities. Two months later, the anti-war movement lost its last best hope.
Go on to Chicago and let's win there.
Presidential favorite Robert Kennedy was shot and killed in Los Angeles. In this climate of near anarchy, the Democrats held their nominating convention in August 1968.
The people of Chicago and its mayor are proud to welcome a great political gathering of Americans.
Thousands of anti-war demonstrators converged on the site of the Democratic National Convention, hoping to galvanize public opinion against the war. Police and federal troops were waiting. With the eyes of the nation focused on Chicago, the city erupted in violence.
These people are revolutionaries bent on the destruction of the government of the United States of America. They're a pitiful handful.
I was running and I turned around and I saw this cop hit this priest right on top of the head. They were just swinging their clubs like just a bunch of idiots.
They have almost no support, but by golly, they get the cooperation of the news media.
Don't push me. Take your hands off of me unless you plan to arrest me.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Inside the convention, the mood was equally contentious.
These are security people apparently around Dan, and obviously getting roughed up.
We tried to talk to the man, and we got bodily pushed out of the way. This is the kind of thing that's been going on outside the hall. This is the first time we've had it happen inside the hall. I'm sorry to be out of breath, but somebody belted me in the stomach doing that.
The chaos of Chicago was symbolic of the divisions within the Democratic Party. Vice President Hubert Humphrey emerged from the convention as the Democratic nominee. He would ultimately distance himself from President Johnson by promising a bombing halt in Vietnam. But it would be too little, too late. The Republican nominee, Richard Nixon, won the November election on the promise to crack down on violent anti-war protesters and restore law and order.
And as Abraham Lincoln has said, no one is above the law, no one is below the law, and we're going to enforce the law, and Americans should remember that if we're going to have law.